themselves and freeing up access to capital. So that's one specific idea. Another one is the Make It in Michigan for Free concept, which I unveiled some time ago, which is saying if you have an old abandoned warehouse or factory or building, and there's a business that would like to come and make something, produce something, manufacture something in Michigan, they can take one of those old infrastructure sites, one of those dilapidated buildings, and if they clean it up, fix it up, and make it a center for employment, they won't pay taxes for 12 years. I believe we have to change. Those are two specific ideas. You may like them, you may not like them, but they're two specific ideas, which is more than is on any of these 10 points. And I could go through and read them. I mean, number one is create more and better jobs. I mean, obviously we all agree with that. I agree with everything on here, everything on Virg's 10-point plan. It's basically the UN Charter. I mean, it's all things good. I agree with it. You can't disagree with it, but there's no specifics there. So I have a lot of specifics at oldvirg.com. I invite you to look at my specific jobs plan, and hopefully we'll talk more about it and compare it to everything else that's out there. The other thing is I've done it. I mean, the difference is other people talk about it. I've done it. I'm in the trenches doing it right now, getting results and creating economic development for my city. And what I've done in Lansing, I can do for the state of Michigan. I've balanced 5 straight budgets, no tax increase, no layoffs. I have a AA+ credit rating. I haven't lost one firefighter, one police officer. I have more police on the streets today than when I first took office.
I just want to follow up one thing. If you're looking at making Michigan have their own central bank here, that would be able to release funds to people who want to start a business, I'm assuming. You know, what is the criteria? Because obviously the banks are being very strict because of the major default rate that we have right now in this country. What's going to be like the metrics that you're looking at, and like who would get a loan, I guess, in this state?
Yeah, the bank primarily would participate loans. The bank would backstop community banks and community credit unions. And so it's it's not some communist thing like the Republican Party said. North Dakota, has not been taken over by the communists. It's a very conservative bank. In fact, the bank in North Dakota has the support of the Bankers Association. It's a very popular concept. But I propose that this is an immediate thing we can do to free up access to capital, to backstop the banks. You have two separate things going on here. Wall Street banks essentially do not care to loan in Michigan. They could, but they don't care to. They've written us off and left us for dead. They've redlined Michigan. And I've heard this all over the state. I've talked to people. And like I say, in the Coffee Report on Business says it's the #1 issue facing business is that lack of access to capital. Number 7 on that list is taxes. Although we do have to do something with our tax system, but that's number 7 on the list that business people say is the concern. So it would essentially participate loans. It would backstop loans. It would allow the community banks and community credit unions who would like to be lending. And the community banks and community credit unions are limited by the FDIC because of really onerous reserve requirements now, ever since the debacle that Wall Street brought us. So we continue to suffer from what the actions of Wall Street have been. And Wall Street is enjoying a recovery. They were bailed out. They've got record profits. They're back to bonuses, business as usual, and record profits on Wall Street. And here we're struggling on main streets all over Michigan, and the Wall Street banks won't do anything to help us. So the other thing we can do, now that'll take legislation. Let's admit it. To create the Main Street Bank will take legislation, and that'll take some time. We need help now. So I want to make it clear, and I have made it clear, that I would get the $1 billion back. We have $1 billion of your money sitting at J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan Chase will not lend in Michigan. They've written us off. But we have $1 billion of your dollars sitting in a demand deposit account at J.P. Morgan Chase. I did a little research. I found out what a demand deposit means. And it's just like it says. It's like it sounds. It's demand. We can get that money back without any penalty. So what I plan to do the day after I'm sworn in is get that $1 billion from J.P. Morgan Chase, bring it back to Michigan, put it in community banks and community credit unions here who would like to lend, and give them the ability, the flexibility now to meet those reserve requirements and be able to get capital flowing to our businesses again.
So let's take one. What are we going to do the next 60 days? If anybody looks at the magic number, let's say the first 100 days of office, what do you think would be, what would the first 100 days look like?
Well, of course, we'll start on November 3rd putting the transition team together. That's very important. In my mayor's office, I got some great people, including the former Mayor David Hollister, to head up my transition team. So the first thing, of course, to set up 100 days is to set up a great transition. Get the best and the brightest, have inclusion from all over the state, from a diverse group, to work with. And you know, those will include Democrats, Republicans, Independents, you know, guys in the chamber who used to support, you know, who supported me when I ran for re-election as mayor. You know, Rich Dudley, Jim Barrett, former director. I mean, there'll be Democrats, Republicans, business people, labor. And then, but I can tell you some ideas I've got already about the first 100 days. I mean, we've got to make Michigan the #1 place in the country to do business because that means jobs. I'm a pro-business mayor. That's my track record. That's why I've got a lot of Republicans and business people in the Lansing area support me because they know me. I've been about creating jobs in Lansing, and I've brought people together, business and labor, Democrats, Republicans, city, suburb. I've done that. A lot of people talk about it. I've actually been doing it. I did it in the legislature. I work with Democrats and Republicans. We have to make Michigan the #1 place in the country to do business. That's what my economic plan is about. That's what my Main Street agenda is about. That's what Make It in Michigan for Free is about. It's about rebranding Michigan. It's more than talk. It's specific proposals. Rebranding Michigan. We've got to change the reality and the perception of doing business in Michigan. And I have an idea what that's about because I'm in the trenches every day with small businesses, medium businesses, and big businesses like General Motors, negotiating to convince them to grow in my city, and I've been very successful at it. I know what things they consider, and I know what it is to compete and win. We negotiated with Symmetry Medical. It's not just about attracting new businesses, it's about existing businesses. You know, GM already has a footprint in Lansing. We convinced them to expand it. Symmetry Medical is a medical manufacturing company located in Lansing, but also has operations in other places. And they were looking at an expansion. We happened to find out because we're in constant communications with them as part of our retention efforts. We found out that they were looking to expand, and we were competing with Indiana and